All right. Got Judex here, Michael Oden, and we talking about this comic.
Oden.
Oh, it's Oden. Okay, I assumed I would have to pronounce it
That's
differently.
amazing. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is great.
Most people are really like, oh, Oden. I'm like, it's an E. It's definitely gonna be Oden. Like, screw me.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
That's good.
It's all good. I joke that I gave up my eye for all knowledge, so that's why I've got the. It's all good.
That's interesting. Yeah, so you got the kiddos tucked away, I assume, given our conversation before.
James, my kiddo, he's 5. He goes down. It's his Thursday is his first day of kindergarten, so like we are prepping, making sure that he's getting to bed at like 7:30, so that way he can be woken up at like 6:40 in the morning, and be able to get to his school bus on time and everything like that. So all sorts of fun.
Yeah, that's good, man. Let me tweet this out. What is that? Judex. Come on, where is it? There it is. Yeah, so we've been talking back and forth here and there, trying to get this stream going for like a month.
Yes.
I've had my own problems. Took a little break from the stream, and and then I was hoping to like have you swing in, kind of just wrote your book for a minute, and while me and Chris were just didn't have anything planned explicitly, didn't want to put you on the spot last minute, so it worked out. We ended up having a good conversation. A lot of it not about comics, but it was fun. We usually have kind of conversations you and me are having. We usually have like 2 or 3 hours after the show.
Oh, 100.
Yeah, but no, I'm excited. I appreciate off camera hearing the stuff of your perspective with like CG as an idea, because I don't deny I'm CG, but I'm kind of like I don't really care. Like, I'll read Donny Cates. I think he's a good writer. Comics is a new thing for me last few years, so it's a very open medium to me. I don't really care if you write something good or a cool premise.
That's what really matters, man. Is do you write good stories? Is the story good? And are you going to bash your audience over the head with your political beliefs, or are you going to layer your political beliefs as nuanced subtext within your narrative to get people to question about to get people to ask questions about the status quo, and what have you?
Yeah, no, I think it depends. Like, what do you call? I was reading into They Live because me and Rookie finally watched that. We've never seen it before, and I'm like, oh, now I get all the memes of it with the glasses and stuff. It's okay, but I started reading the wiki page, and it's like, oh wow, Carpenter made this to be about Reagan and the Reaganomics and stuff. It was a big anti-Reagan film. That was the sentiment. And I'm like, that's hilarious because the guy on the TV is essentially Alex Jones. You fast forward 30 years later, and it's funny how times change. And, I think most people that might tweet memes of that in response to things in politics now are doing it from a right perspective, not what Carpenter would have intended. And, I think that's funny. Or like The Boys, The Boys has some stuff where it's like, when it was written, that was kind of a Democrat viewpoint, this military-industrial complex with Iraq war. But now it's like, that's the total Trump voter thing. We don't want to be in wars. We want to be nationalistic, stay in our own borders,
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it is definitely interesting because there's obviously the debate on like, once an artist or a writer puts something out there, how much agency do they have over it? Because like at the end of the day, at that point, once it starts to be interpreted by other people, now everybody else is allowed their interpretation of that piece of art, right? So while what the artist interprets or what the artist intended still has some weight, I mean, you could get something out of a piece of art or a story that I never intended to put in there as a writer or an artist. but it doesn't make it any less true in your eyes, right? So it's always fun to see how like that sort of thing develops over time.
Yeah. Um, so tell us, I'm about to pull up the page so people can see it. Tell us about your book, where the name came from, and whatever you want to.
So I guess I should probably start off by introducing myself. My name is Michael Oden from Nine Realms Publishing. This is the book that we're going to bring up tonight is called Judex. It is the fifth book that I have done in my time doing independent crowdfunding comics. My first two were a part of a series called Elysian Fields. And then my third book was a book called The Embrace, which is this dark take on the superhero genre that I had worked with Dean James, comics mate, on, and that was very popular and very well received. And then I did a joke parody manga called SPQR's Bizarre Adventure, where I took Roman history and made it JoJo. And now I'm here, and I'm doing Judex. This is the first the first of a series of creative collaborations between my publishing company, Nine Realms Publishing, and Global Frequency Studios, who did Mavericks. Absolutely fantastic book. But so the whole thing with Judex was is that he is a rework of an old public domain character. The original character Judex was from a 1916 silent film, French silent film, that may or may not have served as a chief inspiration for Walter B. Gibson's The Shadow. So like I'm a huge Shadow fan, and so I became pretty fixated on this character and decided I really wanted to like re-envision him, reimagine him as, in the silent film, he's kind of this small scale, like Edmond Dantes, Count of Monte Cristo style character that's out for revenge against this corrupt banker. And I decided to rework him into this cultural defender of Paris during the 1940s occupation. And so yeah, that's really what's at the core of this story is, I've taken this guy and I've made him this hero of Paris that's tapped into the cultural heartbeat of his city, and he's listening and he's asking his people if they can hear it too, if they can hear their city dying, and he's listening and he's passing judgment on the inaction of his people in the face of this oppression, and he's trying to build a resistance.
Nice. First thing that takes me away is the black and white. What made you go black and white for this?
Well, as I said, it started off as like,
because the old timey character.
Well, and I think that it also plays into the morality tale aspect of it. Like, yeah, you can do some great things with color, but black and white, especially when you see like Fabrizio's interior artwork and what have you, the way that it's captured and feels like that old black and white film, it really plays on the morality of it. These deep blacks, whites, and occasional grays in between really emphasize the elements of good and evil that are at play, not just directly with like the Nazis, obviously, but in the conflicted heart of the people of Paris. And Paris itself as a city is, you've got Paris, which is the city of lights, but it's never been more dim, right? Like it's a city that has a proud and vibrant history filled with rich culture that's been put under the boot of jackbooted thugs in the 1940s. So like it all plays into that, and I think that it builds this very rich atmosphere.
Oh, it's definitely mesmerizing. Just aesthetically, I love it. It stands out from the crowd of the other books on Indiegogo or Kickstarter.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. And we've got Fabrizio Ugolini, who has done a whole bunch of work. I think in Heavy Metal Magazine, I think he had done some work in there. Absolutely fantastic artist. He's been a blast to work with.
Nice. So I'm just taking in all the detail because like I've like glimpsed at it. Yeah, I've looked at it like that's cool. Now I'm like really absorbing it. So I'm always busy. So I'm always flying by the seat of my pants. This is the picture that really got me. It's the thumbnail. I love Clint Eastwood, so I love gunslinger imagery like this.
100%. And the weapon that he has there is like a special weapon as well. It's not just like, obviously, by design you can tell that it is special, but like when you're creating a character like this, you really have to, the weapon almost has to be a character in and of its own. And so what I did with this is the gun is called the Widow, or Le Veuve, and it is made from the blade of the original guillotine that executed Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette and Robespierre and all of those people back in the French Revolution. And this weapon in the hand of Judex is exact in how it deals out justice. It only has as many rounds as needed for justice to be served, which in one way could act as like, an unlimited ammo cheat if he's going up against Nazis. But in another way, like if there is somebody there that requires judgment and they aren't worthy, they aren't going to be executed, there won't be a round for them.
Huh. So you got like a kind of like a Ghost Rider element to. Is it like mystical? How?
Yeah. Well,
he's not reloading it. It is like a metaphysical justice dealer.
Correct. And that's the whole thing. Is it's like he is tethered to Paris's like cultural heartbeat, and his lair, we have it kind of set up as this like catacomb style court of miracles where it's filled with all of these relics of French culture. Like, we have this one page where you're getting to see, like the sword of D'Artagnan, the letters of Cyrano de Bergerac, the music box from the Phantom of the Opera. And even in that page that was at like the top of the campaign with the chandelier, that chandelier is the chandelier from the opera house. Like there's all these fun little nods to French culture and literature and everything like that, in the things that are present in his little lair there. And they all of them kind of have these like mystical properties to them.
Wait, so are you French, or like how did you get into all this
French
storytelling?
So I am not French, but like growing up, one of the stories that my dad would read to me was like The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas. And growing up, that got me into reading things like Count of Monte Cristo. My mom also had like a background in musical theater, so I got into like Phantom of the Opera. And in high school, I got really interested in French Revolution history, and that carried on through college a bit. So I've always just kind of had this love of French culture that's been kind of omnipresent, and it was a really cool way to kind of bring that forward in this book.
No, that's awesome, man. It's a story. How to say it? Everything's just near and dear to you. Something you've had in you from childhood. That's cool.
Yeah. And I think that's the way that you want to go with anything. Is you don't want to write something that you have no like I shouldn't say no interest in, but like that doesn't like that doesn't fill your cup, like your interests or anything like that. Like it if I want people to read something that I'm going to write, I want them to know that I have the enthusiasm. Like this is something that I do care deeply about, and it's going to come through in the writing. And I think that that's something that will hopefully bring people in, and hopefully they'll enjoy it.
Yeah, this mask. This is probably the best imagery of all the really good imagery of this book on this campaign.
Oh man, Rich Ayala crushed that pinup, and that's a glow in the dark pinup that you'll get with just like the basic tier of the book, and like the people Neff and Kim over at Global Frequency were the people that handled the perk tiers and figuring all that out. I'll at the risk of sounding like a used car salesman, you will not find better value on a campaign than what you will find on the Judex campaign. It is insane what we were able to work out with things. Like we have a tier on the book for the book that is $10 for the physical copy of the book. You don't get any of the stretch goals or anything, but you just get the physical copy of the book. $10, no shipping in the domestic U.S. The shipping cost is worked into the tier cost, so you're effectively paying like $5 for the base comic.
Well, yeah, I'm going through this and I see like 3 months to Gold Comics. Where is it? It has this picture of heavy metal humanoids and whatnot, and I'm just like, oh, that'd be interesting to dig into. Only $10. What the hell?
Yeah, man. There's only 50. Like that's why there's only 50 of them. Is because it comes with a free 3-month subscription to Global Comics, and like Neff and Kim are fantastic at what they do. Their Mavericks campaign was a huge hit, and their book was great. I've gotten a chance to work with them on a side project for Mavericks, and I've read Mavericks probably a dozen times at this point. It's a great read. So like, yeah, like it's been a blast working with them, and I think on this book we've come together, and I had the initial story and the initial write up, and then Neff helped me iron it out into the best version of itself that it could be as this comic script. And I'm really excited for people to get a chance to read this. It's, I think, going to blow people away. If you ever listened to like the old Shadow radio show, or read any of the Shadow books, or even enjoyed things like V for Vendetta, this is going to be like right up your alley.
Sorry, I'm taking this in.
You're all good, man.
No, I always worry about radio silence. Where it's like, oh god, 2 seconds. Oh man, will someone think like, well, I guess the show's done, or
there's a lot of stuff to take in on the campaign. We have a lot of things to offer, and there is like a point where it's just like it's nice to just kind of like scroll through and look at stuff, and especially there is a lot of pretty stuff. Like right now on the screen we've got this beautiful homage to an Alex Ross Shadow cover done by Erwin Rosa, who does phenomenal work. And we've got a Russ Leach cover, and Russ Leach obviously did Only Death Can Save Us, which is a great book. This is a glow in the dark cover, and then we've got a spot gloss black on black Eiffel Tower in the background. It's going to be a very pretty book.
Interesting. So is the Eiffel Tower supposed to like kind of sheen, have like a shine to it?
Yeah, like it'll be like it'll be like a matte spot gloss finish on the Eiffel Tower, and then all of the white portions on Judex that you see in that are glow in the dark.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah, like it's pretty crazy.
Black Terror Crafts. Who did Black Terror?
That was Von Klaus.
Okay. Yeah, I never backed that.
Oh, it is a great book. I got my copy in about a week ago. It was a blast.
This looks fun, especially like this more cartoony style.
Yeah.
Seeing all this like very serious, dramatic art with yours, and then it's like, well, let's cartoonify them, throw them in a different universe. I'm assuming different universe. No, it's fun. It's fun. Just like let's go totally opposite. So 3D printed replica. So what? This is like a full size pistol replica.
Yes, full size pistol replica that is like you can spin the wheel out and
Oh,
whatever.
okay. So it actually is like it's got some mechanics to it.
Yeah, like it all of the mechanics work on it outside of obviously being able to fire it and what have you. Like it's not that fully operational, but like you'll be able to cock the hammer back, spin out the ammo wheel, pull the trigger, all of that stuff will work.
Nice.
It comes in like a wooden case with velvet lining that also has the ability to be mounted up on your wall. And it's the same thing with like the Judex mask as well, as a fully 3D printed mask that is a cosplay mask. Like you'll be able to wear that.
That mask looks freaking sick, honestly.
Yeah, it's awesome. That was one of the big things is the original design for Judex was like he had the cap, he had like the hat, and he had like the slouch, then he had like the cloak, but he didn't really like his face was bare, and so like I knew that I needed something to bring like basic elements of like the cap and the slouch cap and the cloak together, and so I had this idea to give him this carnival style mask, this masquerade mask that's got the facade of the scales of justice worked into it. And so like that's what those like if you look under where his eye slits are, each of those things are like the weights on a scale, and then you've got the chains coming across the mask to make an X, but they also it's also like there you see the balance there in the center, like on the bridge of the nose, and so that it acts as a scale of justice.
Yeah, and also just the mask adds more mystery and it just evokes like makes you think of like Venom, Spawn, Spider-Man. Like it's a cool look.
Yeah, 100%.
No, it's cool. Yeah, if it was just like a guy in a hat in a cave, you're like, okay. The mask really brings it all together.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and then we've got some beautiful like we have some great interior pages on the campaign where we've got a bit of the story there for preview for people. We ended up having to take down like we took down like one or two pages because within 3 days of us going live, Indiegogo shadow banned us.
Right. When I was trying to pull it up a second ago, I'm like Judex, I'm like, huh, what? This guy is shadow banned? This guy a deep state comic skate guy? Like, because I knew of you because of Chris Fisk. He's like, oh yeah, the SPQR Bazaar, whatever. He mentioned that. Yeah, he's why. And unfortunately, Chris isn't here. I don't know what's going on with him, but he had to not make it today. He's not missed a show before. So I'm sad because he recommended you.
Chris is great people. I'm fairly certain that he backed SPQR. That was a fun book. That book had no right being as good as it was. It was literally just me. Like, I came up with the idea because I was sleep deprived. And it turned into a fun little project, and it was a blast to do. And then, this is obviously the next step, and it's very different, but also very fun, very passion filled, and it's honestly one of the best things I've ever written, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into how to read this because I'm not like an anime guy, so I don't get the joke of like JoJo's Grand Bazaar or whatever it's based on.
Yeah, was it so? Well, SPQR was that I was in terms of one of the best things I've ever written. I was talking about Judex on that, but SPQR, yeah. Like and if you want, I can send you the digital for SPQR. I'll gladly shoot you that.
Well, sure, awesome. Yeah, I've looked at some of this art and I'm on the splintering.com. That's where I'm looking at some of it.
Yeah, we had that was done by Kari Salviejo, absolutely phenomenal artist. She's now on Bad Bugs Hypergeist. She does great work.
If more of the art looked like this in manga, then I might get interested. But most of it looks just like I don't know.
There's a lot of really good stuff in manga, but there's also like really what it comes down to is that manga is all about simplicity of form. And so some guys you have do really cool stuff. Like Kentaro Miura is a perfect example of, if you're a Western comics guy and you're looking for something to get into in the manga sphere, Berserk is absolutely beautiful. It's visual literature.
Like, no, that looks. I've seen pictures. It looks awesome.
Like Berserk is drop dead gorgeous. But like if you're but then if you're looking at something like Dragon Ball or One Piece or anything from like that, like base level shonen stuff, it's not bad art, but it's actively meant to be simplistic so that you can hit quick deadlines and quick turnarounds. Because those guys, some of those books are weekly, like where
okay, that makes sense.
12 to 20 pages a week, dude. Like, it's insane. So like, yeah, like there's an active simplicity that's there for it. But when you have like certain creators will do a lot more, like Arakawa, who did Full Metal Alchemist. She's got a series right now called Heroic Legends of Arslan, which is all based off of like epic Persian poetry. And so it's this like beautiful sword and sandals type story about ancient Persia, and it's really freaking cool. But like it's just a matter of knowing where to look for that kind of stuff when it comes down to manga, because there's something for everybody in that. It's just a matter of finding it. But yeah, I do feel like there's definitely a lot of generalization that comes down to it, where a lot of
yeah. No, I mean, well, especially the visual medium, it's like it's easy to write stuff off when it's like just like the half the hook is visual. You're like, this kind of off-putting,
100%. But yeah,
but there's things. Honestly, I'm trying to think of like ugly comics, like probably I guess an quote unquote ugly comic. You ever read Grit Bath?
Not that the name's not familiar off the top of my head.
It's I want to say it's like, if not directly related or it's involved with Robert Crumb. It's like art from that style. So like kind of very grotesque, kind of just ugly art. It services the story by making everything kind of deranged, but yeah, I showed
Or
Rookie
kind of
one.
like Bonnie, a homicidal maniac, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll have to. Let me see what's the name, because I don't want to pull up like read comics online and like accidentally show an image, because it is
Yeah,
like a
fair enough.
more graphic comic. Let me see, Grit Beth. Jesus Christ. It's pretty intense. Let me stop sharing this real quick and I'll share this. Fed agents glow in the dark. What do you mean, Stony? I don't understand this QAnon lingo. So this is Renee French's Grit Bath.
Oh God.
Yeah, you see what I mean? Like, it's very like, whoa. It's definitely got a personality, and I appreciate that. But it's like not necessarily like that looks good, you know.
Yeah,
But
no,
I
I
think
get,
that style services the comic she writes. I don't know how much she's done after, but it's like she's like this. I don't know, let's say 5-year window in the '90s. It seems something I found on accident, and I just ended up digging in and reading. And then I was like so pissed off and paranoid. I'm like, fuck, what was that book I read? It's got such a specific, crazy art. And I'm looking up like all these things trying to like comic about blah, blah, blah. Cause like there's a part, there's like these kids in the con. So they're starting to explore. And I guess they're trying to mimic something they've seen on TV. And one of the kids, I think, bites off a girl's nipple or something like that. So he tries to fix it and he fucking maims a dog's rocket, thinking it's interchangeable. It's just like, what the fuck is this? I can't stop reading it because it's like, what the fuck is this? But she's got another book about it. It's so like, oh wow, that's just but the one thing I compare it to is this very strange, I think, like New Zealand movie. It's like a stop motion movie called Mary and Max, or Max and Mary. I think I saw it on streaming. It was like an odd movie. It came on Netflix, and so I had to buy it when I saw it. It's based on a true story. It's about this girl who ends up finding a phone book. It's supposed to be like the '70s, I guess. She finds a phone book and picks someone randomly, and it sends them a letter. So she starts being pen pals with this guy, but he's like an autistic, like 50-year-old guy in New York. He doesn't have a filter in his communication. So she's getting letters from this like 50-year-old guy, and she's like 8. And so they're kind of like talking past each other in certain ways. But it's like, it's cute in a deranged way where it's like, oh yeah, I would probably totally react like the parents finding this myself, but you're seeing it from her view. It's like, well, she's just trying to find a friend. And she's, it's so, man, the ending is so sad. It's like sweet, but sad. Oh man. But yeah, that's probably the best kind of emotional comparison I can compare this one book she did, where it's like this guy, he sees this girl, I can't remember, she says, hold on, he sees this girl through his window every day, and he's like, oh, he fantasizes about like having her for a wife or girlfriend, whatever. And he goes about his day being like a lonely guy in his house doing little crafts, whatever. And yeah, he ends up like trying to fix a light bulb or something, and like falls and dies. And I guess she tried to like say hi or was it interested or something, but he ignored her. She's like, well, fuck me, I guess. And then like the son comes home. He's like, I haven't heard from my dad in a while. Have you seen him? It's like, no, he ignored me. I don't ever talk to him. It's like, oh, he's deaf. And it's like, oh no. This changes everything.
Oh man, that reminds me of there's a Shel Silverstein poem that's like the exact same kind of deal where it's like this girl's telling this guy that she loves him and he's signing "I love you too," but she doesn't know sign language.
There's a funny meme. It's somewhere on my phone where it's like a pencil person. It's like a pencil head, but like a person body gives an eraser person a Valentine's. And it's like the Valentine says like "I love you," but then like how she like holds it to herself, erases part, says it's like "fuck you," and so she like runs away crying. Wait, if I don't know, Google CIA Golden. I feel like this is a meme, like
It's probably going to end up being
like the USS Liberty memes, where it's like, oh, to learn more, just Google USS Liberty.
I see we got Joe Ball in the chat. So
Yeah, what's up, man?
go. Death looks great. Keep it up.
Given that comic you showed us before, wait, you talking about ISOM? Which comic did I show you before? Combined with what you're saying now, you seem to like the mentally deficient. Glad I can be your outlet for that. Yeah, no, I don't know. I appreciate like I don't know, for me it's like I love Avengers movies. More than just the like aesthetic, ooh, superhero punching. Like, no, if you don't have substance, then like I get really bored of that shit. But like, the Dark Knight trilogy is amazing for the subtext and the what Batman's supposed to mean. You know, Thanos as a villain, it's like he especially with Brolin playing that character, it's like there's like a circle of like that movie, Joker in Dark Knight, and No Country for Old Men. This like kind of trifecta of nihilistic portrayals. They're very connected in discussion. The Boys, when it talks about Joker, like I like stuff like that's more mainstream but nuanced. But
yeah,
I love depth. I love weird stuff that like I don't know. I grew up an only kid, so when I find books that like or mediums that give me this strange outlet of things that I haven't experienced, but I can like appreciate and understand like the angle, because it's not common to like discuss these things. Like I don't know, I appreciate that stuff.
yeah, no,
Stony is an autism. Oh, Stray Bullets. Have you ever read Stray Bullets, Michael?
Which one?
Stray Bullets.
I have heard of it. I have not read Stray Bullets though.
Oh
I,
man. Okay,
it's on the list. I hear very good things about Stray Bullets.
Yeah, so I got a couple that I go to. One of my local LCSs, I bring in random stuff and trade in for credit. So pretty much anything in the store that's not like consignment for other sellers through him, I can trade for. And lucky for me, like most of the crap I get is old stuff in like the like half off section, or because I don't like keep up consistently with new stuff. And the whole medium was pretty much new to me. So I'll find something from 1995 and I'm like, well, that's new to me. And so yeah, I can find a lot of deals, and I'll make piles of books of trade paperbacks to try to like, all right, I want to read this. This looks cool. And then I'll like whittle down like, all right, what do I really want that's worth the bang for my buck? And so I saw Stray Bullets number one volume. And I'm like, that just looks different. Cool. And it's image, so that gives me a inkling of So anyway, the reason I showed that the issue 1 on the stream, well, on my normal Thursday streams, was Red Eye Som, and I was discussing it and trying to tell Rookie like, no, this really is a fucking bad book. And I'm like, I just read this today. I was like, I just read this book today. It's a random thing I just picked up from the 90s or early 2000s. And it's a quarter of the size. Look at the story, and then let me explain ISOM to you with 100 pages. And I'm like, this this is baffling, you know. It's like
I,
I'm not even
I
using superhero comics. I'm using a real world limitation story, comparing it to a superhero comic, and you know.
no, I actually 100% agree. Like I mean, hats off to Eric July. He's made a very like he's doing very well with the ISOM books, and that's good for him. I don't think that they're particularly good. I mean, I'm not going to buy the second one. The first one was, in my opinion, not good, and I don't think that if you handed that book to the average person, that they would bother with it, and especially not with a $50 price point. Um,
Yeah, I so I gotta say this. Part of me wants like I probably won't. I've already read it, but part of me wants to back number two and so on whatever how many issues he makes, because like I am enjoying it for how bad it is. Like I'm not like, oh yeah, like, you see these reviews and they're like, oh good job, yeah, this is I'm
I,
excited. The world's living. I'm like, dude, you're lying through your teeth. If you watch this
I,
on a screen and it said Marvel, you would not stop roasting it.
100%. I think that the biggest problem that the series has, and especially over the end of the first issue, is what is ISOM? What is this character supposed to mean?
He's a
What is
guy that gets a suit.
okay, cool, but like that's not what being a hero is about. And on top of that, he's written maddeningly inconsistently. Like they have this whole thing where they build up this whole element where he has, you know, he has spent his whole life dedicated towards anonymity, right? Going under the radar for things. And then the moment that we have somebody speak to him in a not so nice tone, he flips out, and that becomes his motivation for the rest of the book. Those two things do not go together. If you have a guy who is willing to, you know, persist under the radar and not make a spectacle of himself, and that's been who he has been his entire life, he's not going to all of a sudden, at the drop of a hat, change that because somebody said something mean to him. That's those two things don't work.
See, this is why I love it though, because it's just like, so I'm trying to make a comic called METH GATOR, and it was inspired by a video years ago that Red Gaze did. He was covering a news article about wacky news. It's like, oh, there's a wacky meth gator post by cops in Tennessee. It says, don't flush your meth, you'll make meth gators. And so I instantly had like, you know, yeah, Killer Croc. I don't read Batman a lot. Like Batman is probably the only DC I read, but I've never really read a Killer Croc story. So it wasn't like, oh, let me just pull from it. But yeah, imagery, it's a crocodilian man. So yeah, he looks like Killer Croc more or less. Whatever. But yeah, I had that kind of image in my head, like one of my posters I've had done. But I'm like, I don't know what the story is. Like, what is how is he because like, you know, essentially it's like, oh, someone spills super meth on him as a baby and it absorbs, and so he starts morphing into like TMNT. Well, but why? If it's methamphetamine, why aren't the users turning? So I was, you know, I knew right away I had no story, and then I got an idea for like a sci-fi explanation for the methamphetamine and why it's not turning people. And then it made the whole story potential way bigger, and actually gave me like a direction to like build off of. But it's all rooted in a stupid meme on the internet, like this whole cult meme for a week. And the amount of thought I put into like rationalizing, all right, I want a pin up for every issue cover, a variant at least, or whatever. He needs to have a babe like James Bond. He's a weird alligator man though. Like, what's the angle of him having a girl, especially if he's like on the outskirts of society? They barely know about him if at all. How does he live with like economics? How does he get women if he gets them? You know, like, so I have to rationalize these things into a plot. You know, and then I see this book would get 3-something million, and I'm like, it's what? That's what's flabbergasting. It's not a jealousy like everyone would like to have a 3.7 million bucks in their lap.
Well,
But
100%. But I think that again goes to, you know, it's not the product isn't ISOM. The product is Eric D. July.
Yes.
And that's what that ultimately comes down to. And I mean, good for him. It is an extension of how successful his brand is. But the book ISOM is not a particularly good book, and I'm not going to go back more of it. All power to him for continuing to do it and build. And I know that he's brought on Chuck Dixon to write one of the spin-off books, and I hope that that's okay. But like in my from what I've noticed, Chuck has spread himself thin across multiple books, and like Impossible Stars made me angry at how bad it was.
What is that? I've never heard of this.
That was one that Chuck Dixon did with Richard C. Meyer, and it was like a space one.
Oh,
and not only
God.
was the book
as soon as you said
terrible,
Richard Meyer, I'm like, oh fuck.
the not only was the book terribly written, but it also had like a public domain shot of space for the cover. So it was like I wasted $15 on this pile of shit. And it was written by Chuck Dixon. Like the story was co-written by Meyer, but Chuck Dixon wrote the script. And I think that Dixon has taken on too many projects and is spreading himself too thin, and everybody has a limit. So I can't say for certain that that's going to help the ISOM universe.
That's a name recognition. The Bane guy's doing ISOM. Whoa!
I think that what and this is something that take this for what it's worth. I think that it would have been way smarter if Eric D. July looked at the crowdfunding scene and went and tapped the best writing talent that's out there. Like, get a hold of Von Klaus. Everyone loves Monster MD. Everyone loves Black Terror. Get him to do find a property, pitch him all of the properties you have, and see if there's one that he would be interested in writing. Go tap someone like Phil Diaz, who does Lost Pages, and like get these smaller talents and help boost them up to the next level, because then you actually create a competitive industry.
Or I would say just snipe actual good people from the industry and be like, hey,
you can do that once you've gotten enough stuff under your belt. But as it stands, people are going to maintain the evil, toe the line to the evil they know, rather than just sign away to Eric D. July for the money. Because at the end of the day, who knows if you're going to keep getting books, right? Like, that's the whole thing, is that at any moment an indie crowdfunder's like an indie comic guy's platform can just fall from beneath them.
That's the thing the fans don't get. They love, ooh, he made it's big success, and I see all these people like, I don't read comics and I back the book, and it's like, well, like, what's that mean? 3 books in, 4 books in, like building the empire of, it's like, that's like, no, you need to sell to readers. You need to sell this to comic stores. Even if you want to sell at your price point, you still need to sell at the stores, because that's where everyone's seeing the book.
Well, and the fact of the matter is that no comic store is going to purchase ISOM for the price and put it on their shelves for the price points that Eric D. July is offering them. Like without shipping, I think it's what, $35, right? And then it was like $15 shipping, I think, which is absurd on both counts. The standard trade paperback from a competitive distributor,
it's like $20 at worst,
is $20 to $25. Hell, Image has everybody beat on this. The first volume of any ongoing series that they have, the first trade paper of any ongoing series they have, Image marks it at $9.99 for the first trade. It is their policy. They do it for all of them. If you go in and you want to go try out a book, if you want to try out a series and pick up the trade, they have the first trade paperback will be $9.99.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I get a lot of with my credit at that one store. I get a lot of Image stuff.
Image does really good work because their policy is they don't want people coming in to try and write for existing IP. They only want creator-owned IP, so you get a lot of variety in storytelling. One of the best books that I've read in a while was an Image book, Murder Falcon, phenomenal. Uh, in fact, Kayla today had posted up list your top non superhero books. Pretty much every single one of them was an Image title: East of West, Murder Falcon, uh, Age of Bronze by Eric Shanower, um, Five Ghosts of Fabian Gray. All of those Image titles.
Wait, isn't that was it Dostoevsky or something?
Which one?
The was it the Five Ghosts of Gray?
Five Ghosts of Fabian Gray was a comic that was done like 5 or 6 years ago, and it's like if you took the idea of Shazam but made it all like literary characters. He was this treasure hunter that had this thing called a dream crystal imbued on him, and it gave him the abilities of these 5 literary ghosts. And so he got like the marksmanship of Robin Hood, the sword skill of Miyamoto Musashi, the deductive reasoning of Sherlock Holmes, the vampire powers of Dracula, and the magic of Merlin. It was freaking awesome. Great book.
Sounds like a Swiss Army knife character.
Yeah, 100%. It was a great book. It was really fun, and it ended like we were supposed to get a final volume, and I think the creative team just like fell apart because like we stopped getting updates from them. But like we got, I think there was like 4 or 5 trade papers worth of stories. Still plenty of reading. It was just we got like it was very clear that
you don't have the ending though,
but we didn't get it. All of those books, exceptional.
Have you ever read Black Road: The Holy North?
I have not.
That is so aside from comic stores, I also like always peruse the graphic novel sections at the library. Because you never know what wacky stuff. Like, yeah, they'll fund all the new like stupid crap from Marvel and stuff, the trades. Where it's like, who the hell is a fan of Totally Awesome Hulk? Gross. But you'll find all this other weird stuff, especially the indie stuff. You're like, what is this? And one of them is ironically by Image. Black Road. It's like a Viking story, more or less, a Viking character. And medieval is some magic or plague or whatever. I need to reread it. It's been years since I read it, but it was cool enough, and I bought it, because I read it at the library. I'm like, fuck, this is awesome. I need it. And
there was this one comic. I want to say it's called Green Valley. That was really freaking cool. It was like a mercenary band in medieval period gets hired to take out this monster at a town, but the monster isn't actually a monster. It's some douchey teenager with a time machine.
I was waiting for I was trying to figure out what would be a funny, underwhelming like record scratch.
He's like this maniacal little shit, and he's got a time machine and future technology, and so you've got these medieval knights that are genuine badasses trying to go up against, but it's like there's a reason why guns got rid of knights. They're at a severe disadvantage. It was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. I want to say it was written by Mark Landis. I can't remember.
Green Valley. I'm writing this down.
Who did that? There was that one, and then there was another book that was similar that Image did around the same time that was just straight up like knights going up against terrible shit. And then if you've never read East of West, I highly recommend East of West. It's Jonathan Hickman doing Jonathan Hickman best stuff. It's like a post-apocalyptic Western.
Hickman's hit or miss because I try to start reading it. I never really read Fantastic Four. I read the I think
Hickman is fantastic when he is interested in writing his book.
Right.
The
House and Powers of 10.
Yeah, like House. The perfect example. House and Powers of 10. Phenomenal. It was a story that Hickman wanted to write, and then right afterwards, they were like, it was very clear that he wanted to write that, and Marvel was like, "We'll let you do that if you write the main X book." And then literally, the moment he went off, the House of X, Powers of X ended, and it became the mainline X book. It nosedived in quality. Jonathan Hickman is like he doesn't, when he loses interest in something, you can tell. It nosedives. And that's even with his own creative projects. The first thing I ever read by Jonathan Hickman was this book called Pax Romana. And Pax Romana had one of the coolest pitches ever. It was really interesting, but it was very like when you read it, there's really only one issue of comic, and like the rest of it's like a whole bunch of like graphic design with alternate timelines, because the whole point is that the Catholic Church, in a desperate move, invests in developing time travel and sends a modern mercenary army back to the era of Constantine to help Constantine take over the world effectively and prevent the rise of Islam. It is a super interesting book, really well thought out, but there comes a point where you can tell that Jonathan Hickman was like, yeah, I don't have any idea how I'm going to write this, so I just here's a bunch of graphics that represent this new timeline that was created, and that's that.
So, no, it's not. So I wrote that down. Pax Romana by Hickman.
Hmm?
You said the book is Pax Romana by Hickman?
Yeah, Pax Romana.
Okay. I got Green Valley written down too. So Black Road is, I'm looking at the back of the book. It says the Christian conversion of pagan lands is well underway, turning the Viking North into a war zone. Magnus the Black, an ex-warrior turned fixer for the church, looks to ease his people through this painful time. But when a Vatican official under his care is murdered on the infamous Black Road, he uncovers a secret so big it threatens to change the balance of power across Europe. So this guy also wrote Northlanders, which is I probably got a few random issues to like be a footnote to like read the series, but
I know Northlanders.
Same writer. I don't know if it's connected or not though. I don't. Yeah.
So I'm definitely putting that on my list. Did you ever read Manifest Destiny? That's another really fun one that Image did.
Manifest Destiny.
It was this fantastic take on Lewis and Clark. Lewis and Clark, where they're going across, but like they turn the American West into like a fantasy land where it's like you've got Native American centaur, like buffalo centaurs and shit. Like, it's really wild. Like, it's cool. Definitely recommend Manifest Destiny.
Oh no! Okay, I sound clear to you though, right?
You were roboting for a
Michael.
bit. I thought that it was on my end, so I reset my internet.
No, my Wi-Fi is good. Let's see. It's not.
You're good now.
Right, but I'm not seeing it. Okay, now I'm seeing it.
So I do think that it's funny because Stony Mick was like, not use the time machine to go make sure Jesus was actually there and like ask him stuff. So, no, of course not. That's not what's important.
I know. Oh my god! You know, it's funny. I get sucked in to the plot. I never think about. Sometimes it's like you watch a plot, you see a plot, like why wouldn't you do that? But it's like I never think of like that kind of obvious thing.
Like I don't even like I get what he's saying, but I think that's exactly the point. Because of course the church doesn't actually care about what happened or not. It wants to maintain its socio-political hegemon. So like
Last Temptation of Christ.
Like it doesn't care about it doesn't care about the actual existence of Jesus. It sends a mercenary team back to the era of Constantine to make sure that Constantine the First gets all of the modern warfare weapons, and they prevent this rise of Islam, which erases their main competitor on a religious and even like socioeconomical scale. Is they now have no competition. Crusades don't happen. None of that stuff happens.
This makes me think the way you're condensing this into like two companies competing for the consumer access.
I mean, that's effectively what.
I mean, I have these very, I guess you say, drab takes about religion in certain aspects. Like, I'm totally aware. Like, I'm an atheist that appreciates the history of Christendom and its contributions to the West. But at the same time, I'm aware of like, well, this Greek historian, I think Daniel Kagan. He's one of the experts at like Sparta. I found. I've watched some of his talks from, I guess, when he taught at Yale. It's on YouTube, and he has an introduction about kind of the overarching story of Greece and their contribution to history and the abstract, like individualism and stuff. And he talks about how there's a pro and con to individualism and liberty and all this. And it's like it's hard to maintain society for any amount of time if this is like a core concept. And I think we're seeing that problem in America and the West. Is like, well, just do what you want as long as it's not breaking the law. And it's like, well, no one wants to do the same thing, and this is why China and like the Islamic world will live past us, or even Latin America. You know, they have family and more or less the church. Whether they're Catholic or Baptist, whatever, they have like some conforming overarching umbrella that we don't. It's all gone here. But yeah, like he talks about how like there's that problem, and then also how like history is kind of convenient for Christendom because Greek ideals are kind of counter to what the Christians started with. But they've inherited their kingdom, and so they kind of like rewrite the story like, well, this is implicit in what we believe, you know. So like I try to be objective, even though I have a side. I try to actually look at it objectively because I'm like 50-50 with like, you know, like abortion. It's like more or less I'm on the Christian like Catholic side on that argument. I think it's just a bad slippery slope problem for society, but I'm also for euthanasia because I think you should have the right to kill yourself. You know, it's like
here we have it, folks. We're going from talking comics to abortion and euthanasia.
We're talking about Rome and stuff and whatever.
I got you. I'm just giving it. No,
right? No, I don't. I really hate when people are like apolitical. It's like, I mean, life is political.
It's part of the daily life. It was like, you know, art, and like this is one of those things where like people talk about like, oh, I don't want politics in comics. Like, no, you don't want to be pandered to, like the religion just doesn't have.
Oh, wait, hold. Sorry, could you like write a note for yourself really quick so you don't forget your point you're making?
Yeah,
I have to. I forgot to tell you this Thursday, Stoney. I watched one of the newest videos of that whatever philosophy channel, and one of the first videos that was like new was like God kills himself for himself, and I'm like, oh man, I just was like talking to Ricky about this. Oh man, I can't wait. Like, what is the answer they're offering? And it was like nothing. Clearly Christianity is great because it's lasted so long, it's had so many converts, so clearly it has to be true. It like never answered the problem of like the arbitrary nature of the rules that God put on himself to kill himself for himself. You know, they never address that. It's just like, well, the Bible is a story of love, God's love for us, and we have to accept love. And people that don't get it don't love God. And it's like, that's not an answer. Like, screw you. I hate you. Because, like, I have conversations with a Catholic guy at work where it's like, I used to be Catholic and I actually went to like the classes and took it in. And I didn't just, you know, I'm not a cradle Catholic. So, I understand the depth of some of these interpretations of why they do things, why like you have icons in the church, the saints, the imagery, the pagan inheritance of ritual, all these things that can be arguments of Christianity, lower denominations. And I'm like, all right, so I think within your realm, you are right, but I don't think Jesus is real, so none of it matters, you know. I don't think the Jewish story is real. And so like the whole foundation is, but like I'll argue like within the confines of your universe, like comics or something, like, all right, these are the rules. So we always have fun conversations. And I was so disappointed, Stoney, with that video. It really turned me off from that channel. Like this guy clearly doesn't have answers. Where it's like I'm already not going to agree with the consensus, but like I want to like at least understand the argument, and he didn't even give it. I was so mad about that.
I think that ultimately comes down to, and this is one of those things where when you have debates, this is why I've gotten tired of the whole let's have a creation debate between the scientists and the theologists. And it's like, this is never going to be a productive discussion because the theologists are basing all of their arguments around faith, which is an intangible thing that the scientists are all going to get pissed about because the scientists are trying to find answers for things.
They're trying to find concrete, provable, or verifiable.
That's how that goes. But faith is about allowing yourself to give faith into a higher power. And so when you are believing in that and that becomes the truth, that is the answer. And so you're never going to have a middle ground. All you're doing is creating a stupid discussion between people who are never going to see a middle. That's not a debate. That's a waste of time.
No, well, it depends on. I think it depends on defining, because the guy who came up with the Big Bang concept was a Catholic physicist. You know, that's very profound because people today that are Christian that like, you know, backhand the idea, you think everything just like popped out from a singularity and it's like, well, a guy who believed in God, worked at the Vatican, came up with this with mathematics. You know, so it's like you're already retarded. So it's like, all right, do you accept the notion of the Big Bang as like probably the most definite answer we can assume from observation of the world around us within our limited abilities? This is the best answer to guess the age of the world, of the universe. And it's like, if you can't accept like this offered observation, then that's when it's like, all right, you're not talking on the same plane. But if like you accept that, then you can start arguing about creationism and evolution.
Yeah, but I don't think that you ever really have that true middle ground. I don't think you.
Right, they always get Richard Dawkins and like Ken Ham or something.
Yeah, and I don't. And that's not a knock on people. So, like, at the end of the day, whatever helps you get through your day to day, that's all well and good. Like, I don't care so long as you don't try and like tell people they're wrong for believing in X, Y, or Z. At the end of the day, nobody knows jack shit, and that's just how it goes. Even with science, we don't have exact measurements on a bunch of this stuff because we we're still trying to figure that. Like, I mean, you know, the core principle of historical geography is based off in an assumption. It's not even like it's not even like we have to assume that the way things operate now are the way that they have always operated, because we have no way to test how things operated a million years ago. So like that, while that seems like common sense, that is a pretty big assumption, because imagine if there were periods of catastrophic change where things developed at an escalated rate, and we're wrong about that. That could change everything, right?
Yeah.
Like
No. Yeah, we just had a big one. Not even a big like life altering understanding our existence finding, but we just had this study where it's like, oh yeah, you know how we've been pushing SSRIs for like 50 years to manage your chemical imbalance. There's no real science to back any of that up. It's all just, it's big pharma. It's all, you've been poisoning yourself, and possibly all the suicides were from trying to treat your depression were probably caused by your treatment.
Yeah, not the greatest.
Yeah, and so then it's like, oh well, a new finding is like actually the age of the universe is a better guess is like 26 billion years, and so then you get idiots who are like, oh yeah, so they're just the scientists are lying, and again, it's like, again,
I do find it funny that like you have people that are holding on to like the Earth is 6,000 years old, but at the same time. But at the same time, they're willing to condemn they're like, all the Catholic Church is the most evil things. Like the Catholic
right.
Church is the people that came up with the 6,000.
Like that is Christianity is what you call Catholic now. That is everything else.
So,
even the Orthodox are deviations.
Well, like I would actually consider Catholicism to be a deviation from the original, which would be Greek Orthodox, as the first true official like church of Christianity established by the Council of Nicaea and everything like that would be the would be the Orthodox Christian Church, because like when and this is coming as a classicist, like when you go and you learn about things like Belisarius going through and liberating Rome from the Goths during the Gothic Italian campaign.
Oh, dude, I was just watching a documentary. I mean, I only retained probably 10% of it. Yeah, I'm like, why do I know that name? And
oh man,
yeah, I was just watching a thing about what Justinian, the Byzantine Empire.
They're the East Romans. I hate it's one of these things that when I was growing up and I was going through high school, it's like, oh yeah, Byzantines. The more you do research on it, it's Byzantine was a term created by the Catholic Church and the Holy Roman Empire to undermine the claim that the Eastern Romans had as the successors of the Roman Empire, but so that they could use it for themselves. That's exactly what it is. They are the East. They are the East Romans. They were viewed as Romans. Oh my god. That they were viewed as Romans by their contemporaries, by their enemies, by everybody, including themselves. They were considered Roman, and that is what they are. That is what they were, and that's what they've always been, is Roman. But when Belisarius went through Rome, and they were doing the Gothic campaigns, and they were doing the siege, and the Goths were sieging Rome while Belisarius was there. They actually oust the Pope, but the papacy isn't really a thing by that point. In the documents, he's just called the Bishop of of Rome. So we know that he's the Pope, but it's not the same kind of a big deal. This is the bishop in Rome, and he gets kicked out for being a traitor because he was giving information to the Goths.
So, wait, you said you were a classicist. Like, is that like did you get like a history degree or?
Yeah, I have
classics degree.
I have a degree in history with a focus in antiquities. Like I wrote my thesis on Alexander the Great's adoption of Persian customs as a political tool.
Oh man, that sounds really cool. I really would like to read that if you don't.
I can send it to you. Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, well, because yeah, like I again have gotten into Hellenism at very surface level. It's a because my rationale is atheism, but I'm aware of the deficiency because like clearly we have evolved to reach higher, whether it's just like an arbitrary intelligence advancement that like all right, the more intelligent you get, the more abstract thoughts you get, thus you start thinking of existential problems that don't have answers, and on this plane of existence at least. And that could be the rationale of religion. It's just like a side effect of intelligence or something. But it's imagination essentially. It runs wild because you can start thinking of things that an instinctual animal just never thinks about. I don't know because like I've been thinking about, for example, I've been thinking about like pets. Like you see videos of like someone's like, "Hey, dog," or they'll bother their dog like, "Hey, get up," or "Let's do something." The dog's just like, and it's like wild animals will like do the same functions, but you don't see depression in animals in the wild, except for like death, of like a family
Yeah,
member or pack member, or like being hurt. They'll coddle each other, they'll cuddle whatever.
it's
Um,
especially with canines. They're very empathic beings. Whatever they are
yeah,
around, they're going to pick up on and emulate.
right. But I feel like domestication is kind of a perversion. Whatever the mutualistic benefits of the species are, it's like, hey, you help me hunt, I help give you a cut of the food and keep you warm with the fire.
Mm.
That's kind of the trade-off with the dogs. But at the same time, you also get these side effects of like, oh, my dog's depressed, or he wants to eat rocks all of a sudden. He's acting out. Just weird stuff where it's like we have these wild functions, and now they're being utilized in dumb ways because
Yeah,
we're in a box when we did have outdoor. So I think about that. And so with like Hellenism, for me, it's like, all right, I don't have a community being an atheist necessarily, and there is like the magic of life. And what is it? Is it the gods or whatever? For me, I think of the gods as like totems of like guiding lights. They're ideals to strive for, like the Constitution, the equality. We're never going to have that. We're never going to have pure equality that everyone's just
no,
like,
there are things that
it's an
actually,
ideal. It's beyond
yeah,
reality. But we're striving. We're always trying to stay within those boundaries and reach for something bigger. When you're a child, you reach to be like, well, I want to do what a happy meal. I want a big kids meal, and so on. We're always reaching for escalation. It's like a driver. And so for me, the gods, doesn't matter if they're real. It's like, well, I should try to be more beautiful, try to be more smart, should try to be more strong, should try to be more rich. I should strive for greatness and the different kind of totems each god is. So that's my it's what do you call it? There was a study with kids. They had like three groups. They'd have a group told to like do a puzzle and they'll get a reward like a marshmallow or something. No supervision. And they had another group with like a guy in a coat in the room supervising. And then they had a third group. It's like, hey, no one's in the room. Like no adults in here, but the fairy godmother or whatever is like watching you do your test. And so the second, third group with supervision and with magic person had the same cheating rates. And so it's like
yeah.
you need Overwatch. You need the Sokovia chords like Iron Man. You need something punitive or judgmental. This is just like a side effect of humanity, I think. Well, I would say simians, apes. Apes have this kind of consciousness too. They have a sense of justice. They'll like blind test monkeys, And like, all right, this monkey gets a grape, this monkey gets a cucumber, but they don't see each other, so they just keep toiling away at their work. And then you remove the blinds, the cucumber monkey gets really pissed because like, no, I deserve a grape like that guy.
Yeah, no, I know exactly which study you're talking
that
about.
Is
like
you know,
that.
When you think animals are stupid and like these abstract like justice concepts don't apply, then just look at a monkey doing a test. Like they understand some abstract, they're higher than instinct, you know. And so it's just all these weird little things I start putting together, and I'm like, I think the Greeks had it right. Like they were perfectly they're right in the middle. They were both tied to the earth, they were animal, and yet they were spiritual. They were reaching higher, you know, because they had the affluence to have society to make their great sculptures and pantheons and stuff, but they were still subject to plague and war and death, you know. So that's why they were so great with their art and yet their brutality.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, that all that kind of ties in where I'm like, I think they had, you know, Gad Sad, psychologist. He has some friend he was talking about on Rogan that was it's like a philosophy guy or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, you know that like thing you're studying or find a new insight scientifically? It's like, you know, the Greeks like guessed that 3,000 years ago. It's like
the Greeks and the Romans had a lot of shit figured out that we lost.
Yeah.
And like straight up. And I mean, I don't even mean that from a like I don't even mean that as like a way to sound like pretentious and or anything like that, but like it was just straight up. We had libraries with catalogs of information that became lost to us due to the sackings of the Library of Alexandria. There was also knowledge that was destroyed by the church, that because it predated the Christianization of the empire, it was considered like devil worship. The amount of information that we have lost, even in just within Roman history. I mean, like Polybius, who's one of like the great historians of the Middle Republic, who wrote about the Punic Wars. Our volumes of Polybius's work on the Punic Wars are incomplete. We do not have complete records on the First and Second Punic War by Polybius, and he had written an entire complete history. There's a reason why we have we know shockingly little about the Punic Wars, despite how important they were in setting up Rome as the power that they would become. We have very little about them because of how much of the record has been destroyed.
So, like, how do they figure out when they're finding or you know, reading these, you know, copies? How do they know one that was copied properly through history? What scraps we have of classics? Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I use that word right.
So like classicist is like a person who studies like classical antiquities.
Yeah.
So like I mean, and that's obviously, you know, that is a potential problem. You could absolutely have things where people play where you're having the whole playing telephone effect, right? Where like somebody can copy something down wrong. I think that, but ultimately, I think that what it comes down to is I blank on the historian's name, but Dan Carlin quotes it during his hardcore history podcast on Kings of Kings.
I've been listening to him off and
on. Oh man, his Kings of Kings series is phenomenal. It's a study about the Achaemenid dynasties of Persia. But at one point he talks about this one historian has this great line, and I want to say it's Peter Breon, and the opening of one of his books is like, but we have to believe the stories of ancient we have to believe ancient history, because what other choice do we have? We've got, like, this is the record we have, as incredible as so much of it seems. What choice do we have but to believe it? Like,
Well, yeah,
there's
you know,
nothing else.
it's funny because I need to find that article. It was, I don't know, probably 6 months ago or so. I guess they found somewhere in, like, I guess the Spartan area. Um, they found a pit with like Persian shit in it. It's like a recent find. And so it's like, oh, you know, the C300 that like people argue if it's real or not. It's like, it seems like they're kind of verifying that really was a thing.
Yeah. It's never a question of, like, I mean, obviously, like, these things existed, but like the specifics on certain things, like, Herodotus constantly gets shit for, like, oh, well, he's clearly full of crap about the numbers of Persians that are there at Thermopylae. I was like, yeah, you know what, you're probably right, but who gives a shit? It's a great story, and it's the only one that we really got, because the other accounts of Thermopylae are nowhere near as contemporary as Herodotus. So, what are you going to believe, the guy that was like maybe 20 years removed from the incident, or Plutarch, who's writing about it from,
Hearsay
solid,
years later.
like a solid 2 or 3 centuries after the fact? I know who I'm going to believe on that. I'm gonna trust Herodotus. He's going to be a more credible source at that point. And I mean, yeah.
Well, he wrote the, like, was it Theogony or Hesiod?
So Herodotus wrote the histories, and he's considered the father of history. He like it, and that's another thing. Like, it blows my mind, that we have this whole movement now where it's like it's his or her story, and I'm like, no, because that's not what it's like. You're trying to genderify a term that has no gender. It comes from the Greek historiae, which is the word for inquiry. It's the word for asking questions. So it's that's what history is. It's not a genderified narrative. Fucking plot.
Yes. See, I love this though. This is okay. This is a tangent, organically built, but with this like gender stuff we're in, I mean, there's like an artistic perspective. Like I watched some stuff about Paglia talking about this is like a side effect of decay, but I don't know if necessarily we have to decay and die. I think it might just be an infection, and I hope it spreads everywhere. The wokeness, the gender stuff, questioning everything's merit, because like you're classist, so you're thinking like, oh, this is history, so I don't have to. We just have to like argue if this thing happened or not about like gender in regards to this necessarily, unless you're talking about like, well, why weren't there women historians? Like, well, because women were nothing back then, you know.
Well, I mean, there are actually, like, very important, like, Herodotus tells this fantastic story about Cyrus the Great, and at the end of Cyrus's reign, he ends up trying to acquire the land of this steppe tribe called the Massageti or Massagatai, and they are ruled by a warrior queen named Tamiris or Timorous, and she ends up killing Cyrus. In battle, in open pitch battle, she kills him and she dunks his severed head into a flask filled with blood. Like, it's freaking brutal. There are absolutely brilliantly colorful female characters in the ancient world. They're just few and far between because they're the exception to the rule, not the rule. And so they stand out. And when they come along, they're really fun. They're very fun. Like Alexander the Great's mother, Olympias, is fucking crazy.
Yeah, dude, I was reading the wiki page about her, because I watched Alexander. I'm like, all right, so what
Oh
is the
god,
merit
it's
of
such a
this
terrible
movie? And I'm like, wow. Honestly, I really like it is a flat movie. It's like a 50-50 movie as
Oh,
far
it
as
is.
enjoyment.
It
But
is.
I
It is.
really appreciate the scope that they tried to take making the story of Alexander. It's like, what drama? Just the shit at
The
home before
problem.
he even
The
leaves.
All right. So the problem with Oliver Stone's Alexander is one, its narrative flow is dog shit. Like I have no idea what drug he was on that made him think that yes, we're going to start at Gaugamela and then we're going to go back to when he was a teenager and then we're going to go to and then we're going to go to Babylon and then we're going to go to India and then we're going to go back to when he was a teenager and then we're going to go to when he's dying, which is a flash, and everything's just been a weird like fever flashback from the beginning where he's dying and it's stupid. It's terrible. So that's part one of the problem. Part two of the problem is the life of Alexander the Great cannot be contained in a single film.
Yeah.
He did way too much shit. There is a reason why.
Dude, just his stuff in Greece and Thrace, all his daring maneuvers, almost getting fucking killed all the time. That's a season of Game of Thrones.
Childhood through the sacking of Thebes is one movie. Going across going across the Hellespont, fighting at the Granicus River and fighting at Issus is another movie. Finishing the Persian campaign and beating Darius at fucking Gaugamela and then the sacking of Babylon is another movie. The Bactrian campaign is another movie. The India campaign is a mini series that you tie into with him coming back to Susa and dying in Babylon. And then if you want, you can do an epilogue series on the Deodakai Wars, which are another set of fucking incredible.
When you mentioned the Alexander, I'm interested in your thesis paper about Alexander and the Persian culture stuff for political. It's like, oh yeah, like I've watched some documentaries where it's like, oh well, is Alexander this great liberator because he liberated lots of people from their lives?
I think Alexander is absolute. Like the big thing with Alexander is a lot of the primary sources that paint him as this like egomaniacal figure. It all happens when he starts adopting these Persian customs.
Right.
But this is actually a political tactic that that he actually learned from Philip, where you take on the persona that you need to in order to effectively govern the conquered, so that the line between conqueror and conquered is thin to the point where it gets muddy. But the problem is that the Greek culture, the culture of the Greeks and the Macedonians, and the culture of the eastern provinces and Persia and everything like that, they're so diametrically opposed that what ends up happening is Alexander very successfully takes over these Persian areas with this tactic, but it costs him his men. It costs him the army that conquered it. For all the conversations of what if Alexander had lived, the real answer is that Alexander would not have been able to do anything if he had lived past when he did, because he wouldn't have had the army that conquered him the world. Those men would not have followed him into battle again. It is the sad truth of it is that he had reached the extent of what he could conquer because of how he was trying to rule everything. And the fact of the matter is that he couldn't be the strategoi of the Greek army and the king of Persia. He couldn't be Basileus of Macedon and Pharaoh of Egypt. all of these things were diametrically opposed elements, and they ended up costing him everything. But it was all a political maneuver to properly govern his new subjects.
Shut the hell up, Stoney.
And
I love it his commentary.
I know Stoney was like, remember when we were talking about
well, see, I think this is the value of a stream like I do, because I'm a movie guy and I just have wacky, unrelated interests. So most people are just like, oh, comics, and like, oh, look at this pose or something. Well, and it's like, hey, I'm talking to you, the person, and we get into weird stuff.
100%. But on the topic of history, my comic is very, very much dealt
right, because you're a classicist. So.
Well, I mean, I'm a classicist, but like, and this book, my book doesn't take place in the classical period. It takes place in 20th century France during the occupation. But it is something that I'm also pretty well familiar with, and if we want, we can bring the campaign back up, because it's an hour and a half. Alexander is actually the subject of like 6 freaking Persian poems where they glorify him. I literally, like, this is actively something that I wrote about, where it's fascinating because the Persians have a very mixed thing with Alexander. They hate that he conquered them, but they also take ownership. There is a Persian poem where they redo Alexander's heritage to make him Persian, so that and Alexander becomes the person that chases out a corrupt dynasty in this one Persian take of the tale. Anyways, going back to Judex though, because that is why I am ultimately here, is to let people know about the book and to chat with Angus here about it a bit. The METH GATOR.
Well, okay. The original thing that got us distracted and on religion and Alexander and Greek stuff is I was thinking about how funny it'd be. You're talking about the way you're conceptualizing the church, Catholicism versus Orthodoxy, or Islam in Pax Romana, whatever. Yeah. I thought that's hilarious. It's like, I wish, DC and Marvel are just never going to come to the table together to do fun crossover projects that all the fans would love to see. The what if stuff.
They used to have so
Punisher, Batman.
It used to be a thing where every few years you would get a DC versus Marvel book, and the winner of the book would be determined by like a fan poll, but I don't think that you're going to see that at this point.
No.
And on top of that, like, and so yeah, like I think I in terms of that, I honestly, I don't want them to, like, I'm kind of glad that they're falling apart, because I don't like how they've been handling things at all for the past at least 5 years. At least 5 years. They have been absolute garbage. So there's that. But on top of that, it allows for actual creators to rise up through the rubble and make stuff on their own. People like me, people like the Diaz brothers, people like Matt Krotz, a great indie guy. If you've never checked out his book Kyrie, absolutely phenomenal stuff. So like there's I don't really want them to ever get their shit together, because I don't care about it anymore. Like it's one of those things where it's sad, because I obviously I grew up with those characters. Captain America is my favorite superhero. Um, so like I genuinely adore those characters, but at the end of the day, they're being handled by piss poor stewards who don't actually give a shit about them. And at this point, I don't see them coming back from it. And that's all well and good because it just means that people with actual creativity, with actual stories to tell, and with the persistence and wherewithal to get their books done and out there to people, have the opportunity to rise up and build something on their own. It's not a guarantee, it's always a risk, but it's an opportunity, and that's all that can be asked for, and that's ultimately what I'm doing is I am trying to seize that opportunity and tell stories that I hope will capture people the way that the stories captured me did when I was growing up.
Yeah. My idea, since we can't get the DC Marvel crossovers, the next best thing would be if Burger King and McDonald's would do a dueling crossover comic series.
Oh, dude, I'd be down.
I would love that because I think both got good things going for them.
You know what it has to be? It has to be Ronald McDonald and the King, but they end up getting beaten the shit out of by Wendy's.
Nah. Wendy's is a better burger, but
it's not even about the burger. It's not even about the burger, Meth Gator. It is about the social media handle. Please tell me you have seen Wendy's' social media.
Oh yeah, the peanut oil is like shut the fuck up. I was like, what? Shut the fuck up.
They are so savage, and I love it. And the idea of having Wendy's crash a fight between Ronald McDonald and the King and just being this savage millennial bitch makes me giddy. Like making her like Regina George.
I would make her like Hit Girl and Kick Ass.
Yeah, exactly. Like just having her be I just remember. You remember when IHOP tried to rebrand to International House of Burgers?
I thought it was biscuits.
Somebody tweeted at Wendy's, like, does this worry you? And he goes, we're not at all threatened by a restaurant that thought pancakes were hard. and I just went, oh my fucking God.
No, I do. Yeah, Rookie has woken me up to the Wendy's account and what they do. It's just like, oh my God, I wish more companies were like that. Where it's like,
oh dude, they're savage. And like
that's hilarious. Dude, oh my God. When my religious journey, if you will, I was interested in Satanism and the Satanic Temple, TST. Because like the template, they're like 9 commandments or whatever you want to call them. And it's like, yeah, that sounds pretty rational. And so I go to this meeting to start a chapter in Columbus area, because either at Cincinnati or Cleveland. So everyone else was from those 2 areas. And it's like, well, let's be like central. So like the only local guy. And I was the second to last one to get to this meeting to like, let's just start like socializing. I don't know. We're at Denny's though on a Sunday evening. And the last person to come was, I guess, a they, them or something. It's like they're complaining about how they're surprised they're even on Facebook to find this group because they don't have, at the time, I guess they didn't have their pronoun options on Facebook. So they had to do male or female. And then like they kept bothering the waitress about like, oh, do you have like these options? Do you cook anything without like this oil or something? It's like, Jesus Christ. It's like, unfortunately, this is the turnout. This is why I'm not a Satanist, because everyone it attracts, unfortunately. It's like they got some, I think, pretty rational.
Stoney straight up said it in the chat. He was just like the problem with Satanists is that they are cringe beyond words. And I don't disagree. I do not think I have met a single person that says, yeah, I'm a Satanist, that I didn't just want to like slap. Like like that, and I'm a Wiccan, and it's just like, yes,
Yeah,
I'm
I've
sure
been to a
you
cult.
are.
I went to a cult store to get like some incense and just look around. And it's talking like the cashier, and it's like, "Oh, I'm into green magic." I'm like, "So what is that?" And it's just like, I don't know. This is a chick thing with the Wiccan shit. Honestly, it's just like they want to be interesting. It's like astrology. Like
Oh,
oddly enough, I'm a Taurus, and like the profile of Taurus, never having adhered to, it's like, wow, that really does fit me. It's strange how to a T it gets like the archetypical like personality thing. Where it's like,
no.
I don't know. It's weird. So like it has nothing to do with like the Hellenism thing, but I'm aware of the profile. I never follow
Yeah.
my horoscope, but yeah, it's it's like energy rocks, Wiccan. Like I think Wiccan maybe has some value if you like really care about your European history, or like what do you call it, the Odinism or Azatru as well. If you're like, well, I'm a white person, this is my heritage before Christianity like destroyed it and hid it away. I'm refining. I'm trying to rediscover the scraps of my heritage. It's like I appreciate that. But yeah, generally speaking, women and Wiccanism is just
Stony
stupid.
says that if a girl mentions astrology, I will never talk to them again. I don't care if they were my boss. I am I am right there with you.
His original name is Stony McInternet Douche. He changed
That's
it to
awesome.
not get censored.
That's
Yeah, I love him.
amazing.
I don't know how he found me, but I love him in my chat.
He's great. I like it, and I'm right there with you, man. Like astrology is one of those things where I do not think I could cringe more. Like it's like, oh, what's your sign? It's like, why does it matter? Like ultimately, what does that do? Like you don't know me, and there's no amount of BS that you can read. Like I I I think I've
You're
read
giving
like
off
one.
cancer vibes right now.
I'm giving up cancer vibes.
What does that
Oh,
mean? I don't.
he's such a cancer. Like, okay, cool. What is it even supposed to be? I know that cancer is like a giant crab in mythology. Does that just make me like a crabby, shitty person? I don't know. Fuck off. Like
Yeah,
like I like it. I think I've read like one of the cancer's star charts, and I was like, I don't even know what the fuck this means. Like,
there's
how?
this
What does
guy
this
I saw
have
on
to do with
Twitter.
me?
I
What
guess
does
it was
this
a
have to do
TikTok.
with me at all? I don't get it,
Yeah, I
and
assume.
it's just dumb.
Yeah,
Um,
I assume it was a TikTok. This black guy, he's going around like kind of like hitting on girls, like, "Oh, what's up to you?" or whatever. And so you see their interest, and he's like, "What's your sign?" It's like, "Oh, I'm in this like we'd never work." And he just walks off, like, and then you see they're like, "No!" Like, I love how he's like, for a ongoing joke, turned it on women.
yeah, like I have straight up. So I'm a single dad. So getting out and dating is a pain in the ass. And I think the like my biggest red flag at this point is if the girl starts asking me about my astrology. There was literally one girl I was talking to where she had me put my information into an astrology chart, and I was like, I don't know what any of this shit means. And she's like, oh, well, this is mainly for me. I was like, yeah, I don't need to be talking to you anymore. like, why did you have me do this? This is a massive waste of my time. I do not know what any of these fucking numbers mean. And the writing about what this means for me is just babble bullshit that doesn't make any sense. I I'm so fucking done. Um, like, and it's crazy because there are people that like literally like they. I don't even think it's fake. They put their trust into astrology. Like, oh, astrology will totally help me get with the right person. And I'm like, this is just fucking sad. This is just fucking depressing. If you really want shit to work with if you want something to work with a person, they're just certain factors. It's like, do your personalities mesh? Do you have shared interests?
So is Judex a Sagittarius?
I will fucking kill you. Judex is Judex. He is his own being.
What are his pronouns?
His pronouns are get fucked Nazi. Anyways,
I don't even know if that would be like a
oh
real statement today. So like, oh no, that's
man, goddamn.
See, I'm doing the work now, Stoney. I'm tying it in with the comic. No, that's just I'm scatterbrained, and it's like, oh, you're interesting comic.
Oh, dude, it's all good. I'm the same way, and honestly, this has been a blast chatting. Like very most streams, it's kind of like you do about an hour, and you're shooting the shit. Go through the book a little bit, but you're having a good time, and things run out. So it's nice to actually be able to talk. That being said, I do have to be up stupid early tomorrow.
Yeah. No, I get it. I work at 12
I am
hours.
about to fade out.
Wait, so really quick, you said thesis. So do you have a doctorate in history?
No, I have my bachelor's in history. And that's it. But I do have one piece pending peer review on Hadrian's reductionism. And once that one gets done, I'm probably going to submit my thesis for peer review publication as well.
Huh. Well, I'm very interested to read this then. So are you outside of working doing this comic stuff? Are you? I don't want you to like have to dox yourself, so I'm like stumbling.
No, you're good.
But like, do you work in like history, like as a teacher or
no?
professor,
I was initially looking at going and doing like either high school or college level history, but like I don't want to deal with the education world. Every bit.
I get that.
Well, it's like it goes back to what I was saying, even with the whole like herstory thing. Is like, I swear to God, if I have somebody like ask me that, like, because I'm not one of those people that goes, oh, there's no such thing as a stupid question. It's like, no, there's absolutely such thing as a stupid question, and that's what history class is there to help you learn. Is there is such thing as stupid questions. Let me help you not make them. Because that's what history is really about. It is about looking at stories and asking the right questions of the facts to try and enhance our understanding of past events. That is what history is putting past events through a line of inquiry to broaden or narrow our understanding of them. Like that's just how that's what it is. And so like I don't want to deal with the bullshit politics in the education department. I don't want to deal with any of that crap. So I didn't do anything with that. But like I currently do stuff. I'm currently a government contractor. That's where we'll leave it.
Okay.
I
don't know if that's better or worse than when I was in. I was in the Army for 4 years, so now with Biden, it's like I don't know if that's a better thing for your paycheck or worse. To work for the government, so I don't know. I'm trying to like weigh the pros and cons, like,
Stoney says, understanding history curses you to know just how stupid the people in charge are.
Yeah,
that is accurate.
Freaking Stoney said, what choice do we have but to believe this? Congratulations, you've invented religion. Wrong. I saw that earlier. I meant to comment. No, Stoney, wrong.
But
categorically.
Anyways, I like yeah. Otherwise, I do the indie comic stuff is like something I've started up. I hope that the people who have watched have enjoyed listening to me talk, and hopefully have gotten to see me talk about Judex, because it is a great book, and I do hope that you guys come check it out. But I'm probably gonna pop off because I am
Yeah, no,
literally
you're
about to
good, man.
fall asleep.
I appreciate having it on. I'll definitely have to have you on. I think you'd gel well with Rookie Critic too, on my kind of
100%.
catch-all streams.
I'm,
No, I
I'm
like to find people that are more than just I have a book and here are the perks.
oh,
You know,
100%. I'm literally only bringing it up again because I need to go get some
yeah,
sleep. And
I'm going to kick you right now so you go to sleep.
yeah, thanks. And shoot me a message tomorrow. I will send you both. I will send you all the stuff. So it was
Yeah,
digital copies of previous books.
and the
And then I
thesis.
can send you the Alexander paper, and if you want, I can send you the Hadrian's reductionism piece.
Yeah, no, I'm very interested in this stuff, so I'm looking forward to it. But go to sleep. All right, and y'all people, wait, kick from studio. There we go. You getting kicked. Kick him out of here. Karen says, great stream. I learned things in here, like Angus is part gay. I thought you've already known I'm bi. How have you not seen me talk about trannies and stuff and not realize I'm bi? I mean, I guess you could argue that's under the template of heterosexuality, but whatever. It gets messy trying to define this crap. Yeah, go back Judex and follow Michael Oden at, let me find his Twitter handle really quick. Judex. There we go. I was wondering why his name is Elysian Fields on Twitter. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? But here is his Twitter. It makes sense now why his videos, I haven't watched them yet, but I've shared them. Now it makes sense why his videos are like streams are about like Rome and stuff. He's a classicist. Now I'm very excited to watch this stuff. Now you're part gay. I love, yeah, part gay and part straight. Yeah, thanks, Stoney, for your commentary. Send me more links, Stoney, for your wrong answers to life's questions. I enjoy disagreeing with them. And go back, Judex. There's little $10. You can get digital and a 3-month subscription to. Where is it? Oh, wrong tab. Here we go. Subscription to the globalcomics.com. 37,000 different comics available. So yeah, I really enjoyed that guy, and I'm glad y'all did too. And share the stream, back the book. Talk to you later.